time.
I mean, I don't need another lens. I always get all caught up in like, I want to get some kind of new piece of equipment or something, even though I don't really need it. I still wish I had bought a second GH5 instead of buying that GH4, but that's okay.
Is it just because of the full-size HDMI?
No, actually, that doesn't really bother me because I just bought a little adapter. So I don't really, because that camera never moves. It's like its home is up there because I pretty much just use it for like overhead stuff. Just because I don't really do a lot of other. I mean, it's nice to have a second camera, but I can't think of anything else I really need it for. But so I have like a little, maybe like 12-inch cable that's got a female full-size HDMI on one side, and then whatever the thing is, that plugs into the GH4, and it just lives there. So I don't care about that. It's the fact that it breaks up the files. I hate that.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty obnoxious.
Yeah. But
that's pretty obnoxious.
But it was a really good deal, so I can't really complain. And I have that Sigma lens on there, and that's pretty good for, like, it's the right focal length that it gets just the right amount of the desk in the frame that it's good for.
And that's for your magazines, essentially.
Yeah,
mainly.
Which I haven't done one of those in 6 months, but I'm going to.
Yeah, well, I have that problem. You talk about wanting to get new gear and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just because you can, and like that's I have that exact same problem.
That's gas. That's what they call that.
Yeah.
Gear acquisition syndrome.
Yes. And there's like so much stuff going on. Like you have so much stuff, and then it's like, well, you're more excited about getting it and seeing what it can do than actually using it.
100%. Yeah.
And
which is
it's like,
stupid.
well, you
obviously.
never know. You can't see it because it's out of focus, but I built this little rig that I can roll around. That has a camera. And,
you showed me a picture of that. Yeah. That's
so
cool.
I've been using it a lot, especially as I've been making this setup video where I can just kind of move it into a place and I just like talk to the camera, and it has like the teleprompter is always on it.
Yeah.
It's got like a shotgun mic that is on the fluid head, so if I move it, like the shotgun mic is moving with it, and it's all. I got one of those like little monitors, like the viewing monitors. I was using my Ninja for that before.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I just kind of want to get like $100 monitor that just, is powered via USB-C, and I got this battery, and it has like 2 USB-Cs and like USB Type A or whatever on it.
Yeah. And how long will that run?
It will if I was running my Zoom, my camera, that monitor and that monitor on it, I bet it would not run out of battery for like 6 hours.
Well, that's crazy. That, in a good way.
Crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's even before with the camera switches over to like its internal battery, which would probably give me another like 40 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is like an amount of time that I will never reach.
Yeah, no, even I probably can't go for 6 hours. Although I've got something in the works that's going to be longer than 6 hours, but I'm not saying what that is yet.
Ooh, I'm excited to see.
Yeah.
Because I guess we haven't really talked all that much lately. It seems like you've been busy. You went to
Portland.
To Portland for like a week. You were there?
Yeah, well, it's like 6 days. So
that's
almost
a nice chunk of
time. A week, yeah. Culminating in going to see Death Cab and Postal Service again. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So you went a week before because
yes,
we were originally going to record. I asked if you wanted to record an episode of this podcast when I was driving to Akron for work, and you're like, "Well, I'm going to Portland tomorrow," and I thought you were just going and then seeing the show and coming back. But you see some friends up there?
Not for the most part. Like, we actually tried to kind of go and not tell people we were going. Like, we have a little bit of family up there, and we didn't mention it to them. And I didn't want to. That didn't take long.
Alexis said she can come to the pool, but she's not coming here until later.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks. Y'all better get used to that because I'm sure that's going to happen many times.
Yeah, no big deal.
Not in this episode, but
I know there's a lot of people that watch my show that live in Portland, and so I didn't want to say beforehand I'm going to Portland, and because it's like that's like the first real vacation my wife and I have taken in like several years, and so I just wanted us to enjoy our vacation, and not have to be like, oh well, tonight I'm going to go have like a meetup with viewers or whatever at a bar or something, and I mean I would love to do that another time, but I just didn't want to do that. I only met with one friend up there who is a friend I made through my show, but I just wanted, I haven't seen him in a while. I just wanted to go hang out with him, and that was a lot of fun actually. I just thought that.
Are they the one that took you game shopping?
Yeah. And I just thought like, he was driving because he lives a little outside of town, and so we stayed in like an Airbnb, so we were just in like a residential neighborhood. And so we didn't have a car because you don't really need one there. But so anyway, so he drove over to where we were staying, and I just thought we were going to just have like lunch in like the neighborhood I was in. And then he was the one that, he's like, oh, you want to go like, game shopping or anything? And I'd kind of asked him like, well, where? Because there's two game stores in the neighborhood I was staying in, and neither one of those stores was really anything to worry about. Like they're not bad or anything, but not. I went because I walked over to both of them, and there wasn't really a whole lot going on. And he's like, oh no, there's this one store that's kind of like way over here, and that's a pretty good one or whatever. I was like, all right, well, you're better than me. Let's go, And so he drove. We had to get on the freeway and drive for like, probably took like 15, 20 minutes to get there, But, man, we went into that store like that. Like, I haven't been to a lot of video game stores, admittedly, but I have been to the flagship digital press store in Clifton, New Jersey. So that's got to be worth something.
Yeah.
And
100%. Yeah.
I think
I've never been.
Yeah. Well, you should. It's really cool. I think this store, I can't remember the name of the store, but this store that my friend took me to up there that's got to be the biggest selection of games I've ever, like classic games I've ever seen in a store. Like they had just so much stuff. And I was kind of surprised overall with the price, because like I said, I'd gone to the two shops that were in my neighborhood. And, whenever I go into a video game store, I'm always just kind of taken aback by the prices, just because, I don't keep up with prices. They're still cheaper than usually. Game stores try to be a little bit cheaper than eBay to give people a reason to buy from them, but make sure they're not giving flippers a reason to take their stock and flip it on eBay, right? Like if you own a brick and mortar game store, you're kind of walking a tightrope, But I just thought I would see some of the same games that I'd seen in my neighborhood that I passed on because I'm like, oh, I'm not paying that. And then out at this other place, they were like, wow, that's quite a bit cheaper. So I picked up like 3 games at that store, but I mean, there was easily some other stuff I could have picked up. They did have, I didn't buy it, obviously. They had a copy of Super Air Zonk for US Turbo CD.
Oh, and that's like...
They wanted $3,000 for it. It was $29.99.
Yeah.
So I didn't get that, but and what else they have? They had a couple of games.
Like who's getting that? Who's going to get that unless that is something that you were, like nobody's like.
I mean, if someone's going for a complete set, I mean,
in the moment.
But they did have. I was tempted. They had a copy of Cosmic Fantasy 2, which I don't have. Mm-hmm. And it was, I forgot how much it was, but I remember thinking like, wow, that seems very reasonable. And it was sealed, which ultimately is the reason I didn't get it. Because I don't want to unseal. I'd rather just buy a open used. I don't need sealed, Yeah.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
So that's the only reason I didn't pick that up.
I bought that one because I think that a number of years ago, there was some new old stock of that found.
Yeah.
Because I got it off of eBay. Probably like 10 years ago now, but it was, or maybe like 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was not that expensive, and it was new and it was sealed. And I did unseal that. But
well, I mean, I think maybe it's different if the market gets kind of not flooded, but if a bunch of sealed games are found, then I wouldn't feel so bad opening one.
Right.
But I'm not saying I'd feel bad. I'm just saying like I'd rather leave that. Like if somebody wants to collect sealed crap, they can buy that.
Yeah.
I don't need that. I'd rather save $20 and have a used copy, But
I had a sealed chips challenge for the Atari Lynx that I recently unsealed.
That's a pretty good game, in my opinion.
It is.
I like
it. It's a hidden gem on the system for sure.
Are you? Did you get the adapters for your Pocket?
I did.
So did you?
Yeah.
Is that how you played it?
I got the second batch, and that's why like I had gotten those. But I also recently bought a game drive from Retro HQ. That's a game. It's like a.
Yes. I have one of those. Yes.
Yeah, so I have one of their Neo Geo Pocket ones, but I also had like
Sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted you though. Just for the folks at home, that's like an EverDrive.
Yes.
Type of product made by somebody else for.
Yeah.
There's one for the Lynx and then one for the Neo Geo, and then didn't he make the Jaguar one too?
Yep. Yeah. Making the flash carts for the systems that nobody else wants to make the flash carts for. It's
speaking
kind
of that, I
job.
saw at a video game store in Portland. I saw a Jaguar, and they wanted. I'm saying this because I don't understand what happened to all of it. Because this seems like it was very sudden. It was just a loose, it was a Jaguar console with the hookups and a controller. But I'm saying it wasn't like boxed or anything, and it was $500. And I just don't understand, like, when did that... It seems to me like it was very sudden that, like, all of a sudden the Jaguar got expensive.
I mean, I definitely want to get a Jaguar just because I think it would be kind of neat to have. But it is... I am certainly priced out of it now because it's just not something I
and you
care enough about to spend that much money on.
And you can get the Jag CD, too, if you want. I have that, too. I have the Jag.
The toilet.
Yeah.
The Jag toilet.
See, I got my Jaguar with the Jag CD and the 6-button controller on Craigslist for $100. That's much better.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
what
I think so.
Would want to pay for that.
Hey, so since we brought up the Analog Pocket.
Yeah.
Last time this is only tangentially related, but last time on the show, we were talking a little bit about the Anbernic handheld devices. Mm-hmm. So I guess this is just sort of like a follow-up for that.
Yeah.
But I don't remember exactly what I have, but the only Anbernic device I have now is the one you sent me, the 405 M, not the... It's the landscape
you
one,
want the
not
wider one.
Yes, yeah. Right. And I like it a lot, but I don't remember what I may have said last time. But it's metal, so it's kind of heavy, and it's kind of slippery. Again, because it's metal, that makes it heavy and slippery. And so if I'm like laying in bed or something, I feel like sometimes you have to hold it kind of awkwardly because you're trying to sort of support it while you're playing it.
Yeah.
And
your hands start to fall asleep.
A little bit, yeah. And I remember at some point, like your best friend Russ over there at Retro Game Core, he had mentioned that maybe his ideal handheld for retro play would be like if they made the 405 M but made it plastic instead.
Yeah.
And swap the positions of the analog stick and the D-pad. And I 100% agree with it. If they made that, that'd be like a day one purchase for me. But so I was, anyway, because of, I think I was laying in bed, trying to play whatever and having to sort of awkwardly hold it. I went online and was just trying to look at like other options. Like maybe I should just try a different handheld or something. And, part of the problem is it just like, if you want a 4x3 screen handheld, you have to settle for a 3.5-inch screen really in order to have a lot of options. There's not very much out there that, has this larger 4:3 screen. Of course if you're okay with a widescreen, then that opens up lots of stuff for you, but then you're buying a bigger handheld that I don't want. But through, doing all of this reading online, I come to find out that Anbernic themselves makes a grip for the 405M. So I bought one on eBay from the official Anbernic eBay store for $12, including shipping. So you check that out, So it adds these little grippy things to the end here,
And it's like molded plastic. It's not 3D printed or anything, right?
Well, yeah. Because, if you're okay with 3D printed, you can buy a lot of stuff like on Etsy and stuff. But this is... I don't know, they say it's silicone, but when I think of silicone, I think of something a lot softer than this. I mean, this is soft as far as like the surface has a nice soft feel, but It's
Yeah.
pretty rigid plastic, which I think is what you would
Yeah,
want.
man, it's a nice looking thing.
It's pretty nice, yeah.
Speaking on that, like I think I showed to you.
You showed me a picture. No, yeah, you go ahead. You got the...
So, I mean, the big deal, I think, recently has been, like, this thing.
Yeah.
The SP version. And, like, this is, like, reinvigorated my interest in, like, using my Anbernic. It's just kind of like a throw in your bag or, in your car when you're going to be waiting someplace for a little while type of device. It's just like a Game Boy Advance SP, but it has 4 face buttons and 2 shoulder buttons.
But, I mean, it's crazy how well they nailed the Game Boy SP. I mean, it really looks like... It looks exactly like it, except for the additional 2 buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, it's... For Game Boy Advance games, what's kind of funny is, like, they are... they need to be smaller to, like, fit on this 4:3 screen.
Right.
Because they're widescreen or wider screen.
Semi-wide
and it
screen.
has, like, a bezel that, like, shows up when you play them, and it's just like what the inside of the screen on a Game Boy Advance SP looks like.
Yeah.
So it says Game Boy Advance SP, and it like looks like it's actually part of the screen.
Yeah.
And it just, cool. I don't know, it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I updated the firmware, but I haven't put too much other stuff on it. I think the only thing that I would like to see is if like they made like a 3DS style Circle Pad Pro type thing, or Circle Pad, like that slider that was like down here.
Yeah,
which I think that would be kind of a nice, just to have that. They could even do it on both corners, and I bet you they will.
Maybe.
Where it's just kind of a flat, low profile flat analog stick on, like little nipples on it,
Yes.
But I like it, I think I said last time that these things, like ever since I did that video, they just like, they've been showing up at the P.O. box. And then when I saw that one, I saw Retro Game Core did a video on that.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I hope that one shows up.
Oh, you saw the video first.
Yeah. I didn't even know it was a thing, but apparently it was a thing that people knew about, but I had never seen anything on it.
Yeah, I didn't know about it.
And then literally the next day,
I
went to the P.O. box and it was there. So it's pretty exciting. I think it's very like
you should send them a link to these podcasts so that they know that we are talking about the stuff that you're sending them.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I should.
Yeah.
Like that stuff gets brought up in some form or another, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I just keep that right here on the desk, and sometimes I'll bust it out.
Yeah, this is what I took with me to Portland. By the way, it's the only thing I took with me, like gaming wise, to Portland.
It's and you probably are using it for the same reason. It's
golfing?
Such a good.
That's what I was using it for, is golfing.
Well, for research, just like saying hey, let me try out some stuff.
Yes,
because I want to. You want to maybe do a weekend rental on it.
That's exactly it was weekend rental research. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something that you don't have to put a lot of time into. You don't have to care about like save files or anything like that. You just turn it on, play it when you got 15, 20 minutes.
You know what's nice? You can take screenshots with the device. Like there's a button combo you hit, bam, if you want to take a screenshot.
For like passwords and stuff, probably great for that.
Or I don't know, just if you need, or if you did something like, I didn't take a screenshot because I wasn't thinking, but I should have taken a screenshot. I was playing Jack Nicklaus's greatest 18 holes of major championship golf, and I hit an eagle. Like I scored. I didn't hit an eagle literally I'm saying
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is.
It'd be cooler if I hit an eagle like the way Randy Johnson
hit that
hit that pigeon.
Is that like 2 under par?
Eagle's 2 under par, yeah. So I think it was a 3. I scored a 3 on a par 5, I think. It wasn't like a 2 on a par 4. But hey,
all the terminology that I know about golf, I learned from Hot Shots Golf, I think.
Well, I mean, that's an excellent way to learn. Hey, speaking of golf, just go with me on this one. You're listening to episode 54 of Here's My Question for You. And on a par 72 golf course, shooting a 54 is considered a perfect game. Because if you shoot a 54 on a par 72 course, that means you averaged a birdie on every hole.
Which is 1 under par, right?
Yes.
So a perfect game. I mean, it's possible to do better than a 54?
Sure, yeah.
Has it ever?
Yes.
I wonder if that's ever been.
I'm pretty sure.
done.
I thought someone recently shot a 52 somewhere, but I don't think so. I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know. You'd have to. I don't know what's like physically possible. Theoretically. I mean, I think it's it's possible. I think to get 2 under par on every hole that's like a par 4 or 5, but in order to shoot an eagle on a par 3, you have to get a hole in 1. So that's probably not happening. Also, speaking of golf, I'm going through a bit of an existential crisis. In that I really want to play a lot of golf games for a weekend rental this summer. But it's not going to. I don't think that's going to go over
6 hour.
Well. No, that's something totally different, and it's going to be more than 6 hours.
Oh,
but like I might be 60? Kind of flirting with the maximum allowable length of a YouTube video.
Dang, I'm excited to see what that ends up being, but also, I don't think that anybody would complain about you playing. Lots of golf games. We'll
see. I mean,
I think it's cool that you like them so much.
Hey, speaking of that, look at what I was just playing yesterday, because you're the one that got this for me. Mecha
Robot Golf.
Mecha Robot Golf for the Super Nintendo. That one, I wish it was better.
Yeah,
I just like the
grabbed
whole
at the exchange in Akron, Ohio. I think I got that at the exchange.
Oh, cool.
A place called the Exchange in Akron, Ohio.
It's just it's real Mode 7 heavy, but it's like choppy. And it's too bad because you're playing golf with you're not a robot, but you're playing with or against a robot who talks to you while you're playing and
is your caddy a robot?
I don't believe so. I don't think you have a caddy in this game. That would be like the T&E golf games, the True Golf Classics games for the Super Nintendo. The YLA Country Club and then Pebble Beach. Those you could pick that's kind of funny because you'd pick your character and then it'd be okay, pick your caddy, but all the caddies are like digitized pictures of like the dudes that programmed the game. I think that's kind of cool. It's like a little Easter egg, but except it's not even really hidden. Like if you go play True Golf Classics YLI or YLA Country Club, you'll see.
So is that how you pronounce it? Because that's one of those unknown words to me. I've always seen it, the YLA. I always call it like Wall-A.
No, that's how I say it. I don't know I'm sure I could find a YouTube video of like, there must have at some point been like an actual golf tournament at that club. Although I had actually the same problem. Somebody just sent me a golf game for the Sega Genesis, and that's going to be a weekend rental episode. And it has like a hype. Well, this one doesn't because someone removed it, but this game's supposed to have like a hype sticker on the front that says like now includes like so-and-so golf club or golf course. And I don't know how to pronounce that one either.
Wale?
No.
Is that what it is on there? I mean, that is one of that is literally one of like a word that if you were to ask me like what's a name that you never knew how to pronounce and still don't, that would be at the top of my list. I still don't know. And I don't even know if I want to know anymore. I think it's almost more fun to not know.
The only thing I would say is that, there's the pronunciation police all over YouTube where if you say something wrong, people, I just got another Gradius comment left on the Super Nintendo video the other day. And I'm not.
So you constantly get those.
Yeah, but now that I did the weekend rental Gradius episode where I actually explained why it really is Gradius, I should just link them to that. But I just ignored it. But all I was going to say is I think that we can be secure or confident in thinking that you can just go ahead and say YLA however you like, and probably nobody's going to show up in the comments saying, actually, it's whatever,
Yeah.
Like, that's just funny, pick one and we're all going to go with it, I think,
Yeah. Or everyone else will know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I was originally going to do like a theme month. We're going to play golf games for an entire month, but I don't think that's probably not a good idea, but I'm just going to sprinkle them throughout the summer, Play a golf game and a couple of non-golf games and a golf game,
You should do it. Just
I'm going to.
Playing what you want.
It's already.
You seem to have a pretty good time doing the renovation stuff.
Oh my God, that was such a great theme month. I loved it.
Well, what I liked is that you like picked like every single thing outside of Granada. Like I feel like Granada is kind of like is a good starter. Like it's a good it's a game that is people know about, to know the renovation name, right? Yeah. And then after that, you kind of played all these things that I think that people would know about, but they like, I've actually never played that.
Yeah.
And especially like Master of Monsters, if you're not like really into games like Military Madness or something like that, seeing a game that's like full of like hexagons is like, oh my God, that's immediately overwhelming to me, and I just don't want to do it. Yeah.
No, that's how I felt though too. It was only because so many people brought it up in the comments that I was like, man, I think I need to check this game out, and then I did. Yeah. And I was so I'm very grateful to the people that kind of pushed me to check it out. Because now, a month later or something, I own 2 copies of the game. So.
And we got like a PC Engine version, right? A PC Engine CD version?
Well, that's what I mean when I say 2 copies. I didn't buy 2 Genesis games. I bought...
right.
Because it was the same store. The store my friend took me to in Portland. They just coincidentally... Because, all of their TurboGrafx and PC Engine stuff was like 1 or 2 little shelves. Because, that's just normal in this country, right? And they only had a handful of PC Engine games. And for Master of Monsters to be one of them, like that's like fate. Right. So yes. I had to, it was $18, right? So how can you say no to that?
Exactly. And that's a good way to practice your Japanese. Speaking of which, I've been using this app. I think I told you about like this Kana app, but I finally should have done this way earlier, but I've printed out these Tofugu mnemonic charts.
That's the best website, I think, Tofugu.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because
like those mnemonics are all ridiculous, but that's what helps you remember them.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing is like before I like was actually looking at these, I was kind of doing something similar, like with certain, symbols before, like, oh, it kind of looks like that.
Yeah.
And I was making that association in my mind, but now like using these, so I just keep these here like right next to me all the time. Yeah. And I'll do like a little bit in my app, but then I will just kind of like look at this and I'll just kind of when I have some downtime, I will look at it and certain things. And I was sitting over there and I've like turned all my Japanese games like with the Japanese name facing out.
Yeah.
And I kind of go through. So like the hiragana, like, did you start with the hiragana?
Yeah, it's recommended that you do the hiragana first because a lot of the katakana shapes are based on the hiragana. But learning hiragana by itself is not really all that helpful, I don't think.
So it was, I was doing the hiragana also, but Dustin, who's been on the channel, on here, like a long time ago, he lived in Japan for a number of years, and he's like, so I always tell people to learn katakana first, because you can look at like names of things, and you can you can sound it out easier, to make it similar to like the English word. Yeah. It's easier with katakana.
Well, I think that's definitely true because generally if something is written in, I'd say 9 times out of 10, if something's written in katakana, it's English. And it's, you can sound it out. And you're like, oh, that just says whatever. And plus you'll see it in context and like, oh, that just says ramen, or, well, that's not an English word. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But I think also I would say, though, like if you actually were to start learning Japanese, in Japan, they don't expect children to really know any kanji.
Right.
I think by the time they graduate like high school, they're supposed to be able to know like 3,000 kanji characters. But because of that, if you go read like a Japanese game magazine from back in the day, that's all written in hiragana, and then it'll have, anytime they use kanji, they'll put right above it, they'll put that word in hiragana so you can sound it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on that same thing, like talking about kanji and how challenging it is, and how even adults don't know. So John Linneman from Digital Foundry has also been on here. He's originally from Cincinnati, and he comes back like once a year, and we hang out. And we were game shopping, and he found this DS game that a Japanese Nintendo DS game that's all about like kanji. And he's like, so you look at this is for adults.
Yeah.
Because, to teach adults like more kanji than they probably know. Like that just goes a long way to tell you that probably most adults like don't know all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's just like, I've been doing this, and I don't know if I talked about this the other, like in the last episode or not, because it's been a while since we've recorded. That last episode, I think it was like a month between the time that we recorded it and it was released.
I sat on that for a little while.
No,
sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. But I think from this point on, we're kind of switching to like a bi-weekly release schedule, I think.
That's the goal. I think it's realistic. So
yes. I completely forgot where I was going with that. I don't know if I said this last time, but the idea is like if you spend like a few minutes on something for 100 days straight, like by the end of the 100 days, like you probably might have like a decent grasp of it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to maintain that.
So if I can just give you a piece of advice, I guess, about the katakana thing.
Sure.
This is just from my own experience, not anything I'd read or anything, but it pretty quickly becomes pretty easy for you to just look at katakana and be like, oh, that's this, that's this sound or this syllable or whatever, and then you think, oh, I've got this down, and then you can, I can play, like I'll play like a Japanese baseball game, and I can read all the text because it's just in katakana. But you can lose that pretty quickly if you don't keep up with it. And I think part of the reason for that is you're only learning it in like one direction. And so something that's really easy to do, like, you had just mentioned, like, if you're sitting in a car waiting for somebody or something, I think a really good way to practice like solidifying katakana is writing stuff in katakana. Just look out your window at a word. Oh, that says McDonald's. Can you write McDonald's in katakana? It's even if you think,
and it's not like you got to write it down either.
Well, you don't have to. You can just in
like,
your mind
think about, like,
you could whatever.
Yeah.
But like you might think, oh, I've got katakana down really well because I can read it all. But you'll find that you don't know it as well as you think you do, because like, yes, you can read it, but you can't call up the characters in your mind based on the sound. You can just call up the sound based on seeing the character. So if you learn it both ways, it helps solidify it a lot more. Like I have not been doing a good job keeping up with it, so I need to I did buy some flashcards though.
That's cool.
When I was in Portland, we went to Powell's bookstore, greatest bookstore on the planet. On planet Earth. And if I would have gotten you one if I'd known you were all into this now, because they were cheap, but I got this little box where it's got like hiragana and katakana flashcards and like little fold out posters that have like the whole character set, and they were like $8. So cheap.
That's not bad at all.
No.
I mean, I almost thought about like making a Windows wallpaper of this and just keeping it up, but I was like, no, that's going to like be obnoxious after a little while. So I just printed these out, and they fit nicely on a single piece of paper.
Definitely, yeah. I can send you. I've got there's a little Japanese shop I think I've mentioned before here in town, and they sell these little 8.5 by 11. It's on some kind of plastic or something. It's not just paper, but it's got hiragana and katakana on it. So it's like you can just keep that and like refer, like, oh, I can't remember what that one is. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm moving through, like I'm going across or going up and down, like learning everything. I don't know everything yet. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to look for, but I was taking these over there and trying to find like specific symbols, like on these spines of certain games. I'm like, oh, I'll see if I can sound this out. Yeah. Yeah. So it's cool. Like it's something that I don't know, works my brain a little bit. Yeah. Well, I remember I did that. What you're saying, I did that with my PC Engine games because they're all in like a drawer where you open the drawer and just the spines are facing up. And I sat there and just like read out each one. It's kind of fun. It is. But you you start to find out like, oh, it's not 1-to-1. but you can kind of get an idea of what the word is, like I was looking at Jumping Flash 3 is called Robert Mandu, and I was like I was like, oh, it's Robashi. So you kind of get it's not going to say it exactly, but you can figure out what it's trying to tell you or what it's trying to say.
Yeah. Hey, this doesn't apply to you because you have those big over-the-ear headphones. But this guy that hangs out in my Discord, who I can never pronounce his name correctly, so I'm not going to insult him by trying. But he would notice that I'd be doing like a weekend rental or whatever. I'd be on camera, and I would be reaching up and like sort of futzing with my my IEM. This is an IEM, whatever earbud. Because it just wasn't forming
in-ear monitor.
In-ear monitor,
right?
Yeah. It's technically an in-ear monitor, but whatever. I was just trying to be, snobby for comedic effect. He was just noticing that I kept kind of screwing with it, and because it just wasn't, especially it was only on one side, it wasn't really forming a good seal. And so he mentioned to me on in Discord, he said, "Oh, you should try these different like these things. It's like the little silicone." The things you stick on them, the thing that actually forms the seal in your ear canal, and
so were those like
these are made by Final Audio?
Okay, so they're not ones specifically made for your in-ear. Like they're kind of a universal thing.
They're like, not literally universal, but mostly. It'll say on the product page, "Oh, this will fit the following manufacturer's earbuds or whatever," and it lists them all off. But most of them are the same.
Yeah.
As far as like the little stem that they stick to. So anyway, I bought some of these, and this is making I think some people buy these because they think that it makes the sound better, like if they're listening to music, but it's not. I literally only use these for doing the show. So like, I don't care about, I'm not listening to music, so I don't know that this sounds any better, but I'm saying this makes a much better seal in my ear canal. So big improvement.
So you don't feel like you need to like fiddle with them a little bit. I had to get new pads for mine. Like the ones that I had, the outer layer was starting to flake off.
Yes.
But thankfully, like these, it took 6 years for that to happen, 7 years.
Do those still have that same kind of material?
Yes. These are a little bit different. They have like these like breathable holes in them. Like very, very, they're kind of perforated. And they're not that expensive, but they're like a memory foam. So I got the same color of these, like the maroon color, and I ordered another one just to have backup for in 6 years, so I don't have to.
Yeah.
You never know if they might disappear, right?
Yeah.
So I just put those in storage, and I'll bust those out at some point.
Yeah, I don't have them down here to show, but my over the ear headphones, I had mine. Mine came with like I don't know what that kind of material is, that synthetic material, and I just didn't like it because it made my ears sweat. And
okay.
So I ended up replacing with like these velvet. They're made by the company that makes the ear. It's just like you can either get them with this velvet pad or with this other stuff. And the other stuff, the synthetic stuff, forms a better sort of seal and is more sound isolating, but the velvety stuff is a lot more comfortable. Kind of speaking of that, I don't know why this bothered me, but this kind of stuff always kind of annoys me a little bit. But yesterday I was having lunch, and where I work on campus, there's sort of like this on-campus sort of like sports bar.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go in there and order some food and have a beer, and there's like TVs all over the walls.
Like a billion TVs. I never wanted to
you
take the
said
kids
that,
to, like,
not me, but
there is. Was there a billion TVs?
There's probably 6 or 7.
Yeah, too many TVs.
It's a lot. Yeah. And none of them have the sound turned on, which is fine with me because
Yeah,
but
it'd just
whatever.
be noise at that point.
But
all
anyway,
mixed together.
so I'm in there, and all of the TVs are tuned to a different sports channel because it's a sports bar, right? Fine.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining about that, but I'm saying like on one of the TVs, it was like, how you have like the Pat McAfee show, and there's all these different sports personalities that like have their own show, and like maybe it even just started out as a podcast, which I think is the case with Pat McAfee. And then like now he's on ESPN, and it wasn't Pat McAfee, but it was somebody else who is like a pretty prominent on-air personality on ESPN, and then they have their own show, like it's the so-and-so show, and it's sort of a podcast format. It's very similar to what me and you are doing right now. Very similar. Right. Like she's on one screen, her guest is on the other screen, and this always bothers. You see this a lot on TV, like where they'll have like on sports programs where they'll have like some reporter come on the show. Like they'll have like Jeff Passan come on and talk about some baseball thing, and like he'll always have like just the white, like the headphones that used to come free with your phone.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like he just has those on plugged into and he's wearing like a suit, and he's so worried about his background. But then like he just has his laptop out and he has these headphones plugged in, like dangling down while he's like talking. And that already kind of bothers me because it's like that's fine for like me and you. But it's like, dude, you're a professional who is regularly called to be on ESPN to give your opinion. Like, can you spend a little bit of money and have a little bit better of a setup? But hey, that's not his primary job, being on ESPN. Like, he's a journalist, they have him on, that's one thing. But this show I was watching yesterday, the host, that's what she was doing. It's like your show, and she just has white earbud things dangling off her face.
I mean, I could understand if somebody was like lost theirs or something like that, and like we had to come up with something in the moment. But why is the network that this is on, that they're on?
That's what I'm saying. For it? Why can't you give them a little bit of money to have the same? And all I'm saying is like that's a standard thing in broadcast. Like if you watch the evening news, those people all have ear monitors in, right, so that the producer can talk to them, so that they can hear themselves. Yeah. And all I'm saying is, why aren't these people doing the same thing? Like, is lo-fi sort of like the in thing to do? Because like the reason I bought these is because they wrap around the back of my ear and the cord goes down my back, just so that you don't see, And
is it just like a 3.5 millimeter thing on the?
Yes, and it's plugged directly into the Zoom. So I hear me, I hear you. It's all So I'm saying, if somebody's going to have a show on TV. It's not like I spent a bunch of money here on this. This was all pretty inexpensive. And what microphone was she using? Guess. You know the answer. Yes, that's right. It was a Shure SM7B, because it's not a real podcast if you're not using
have one of them.
A Shure SM7B. So she had the money for that, I guess, but not, or I guess ESPN had the money for her to buy that, but proper. It just looks unprofessional. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to attack her. I'm just saying, like, why, ESPN just continues to go downhill.
Or at least get something like this that like looks like you're.
At least that looks like you're taking it seriously. Like if you're going to have something in the frame, have something in the frame. But having like $10 Best Buy earbuds, come on. And you want me to take your opinion seriously,
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because you talked about like different microphones. Like I have this one, and I was using this on my show as a voiceover mic for a long time, but I didn't really care for it.
Well, it's not what
I just felt like it was too much of a contrast to like my on camera stuff.
Yeah,
and starting with like this MemCard Pro video that I did last month.
Yeah,
well, it'll be over a month ago now. By the time this releases, but I switched over to using my that Sennheiser MK600
shotgun, right?
The shotgun, that I've been using for like my on-camera stuff. It's like it's on that rig back there.
Yeah.
But I just started putting it over here and then like just recording my voiceover into that, and I like it a lot more.
It just those shotgun microphones just have a better sound for voiceover.
And that one is just like so directional that it does not pick up like any like BS like going on just outside of its range. It's very nice. And I it's funny because I'm like, I kind of want to get a second one so that I can like leave it here all the time and keep the other one on the movable rig.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Joe Redifer from GameStack about it. I'm like, so I just like, because I always go to him and I say, what do you think about my voiceover audio in this one?
Yeah.
because he just like has like he can hear frequencies that.
Oh, he's like Rain Man with like anything audio related, in my opinion.
Yes, I've had him make new profiles, like effect profiles and stuff for this, and I just like haven't been happy with it. And he's like, it sounded great, and I'm like, well, I got this Sennheiser MK600. He's like, oh yeah, I have 2 of them. I record all my voiceover and all my on camera on them. And I'm like, well, maybe I need a second one.
Yeah.
I don't know why. There's like absolutely no reason for it. I can easily unhook it and bring it over here.
Yeah.
And like I just kind of did some more. Curtis Judd, who does like this, the YouTube show on
it's like
audio,
Light and Sound or something. I forgot what his channel's called, but
yeah, like his audio
Light
is
and Sound, maybe.
Yeah, but he's like very audio focused.
Yeah,
like he does all like his audio stuff. I think is like so scary good that it sounds like wrong.
Yeah,
I
bought my first lavalier mic based on his advice, actually.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, are you pretty happy with it, or
no? I don't use it anymore. I just don't like lavalier mics, though. It's not because it's not like I think he led me astray. It's just I've tried for years to like lavalier mics, and I just can't get to where I'm ever happy with how they sound. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but
I think it probably just depends on a person's voice. Certain people have a cadence that like works with that, the way that they speak. And like this microphone is fine for this, like
it's just actually it's more than fine for this. It's like these kinds of microphones are better because they sound a little bit smoother. And because remember, I tried the first couple episodes of this show, I used my shotgun mic, and I couldn't stand the way it sounded. Like for doing a podcast, it's just like that microphone is just too aggro. I don't know how else to put it. Like sounds great for like doing voiceover for my show. But, and same thing, like if I was doing a weekend rental where I'm just sort of talking in the microphone, I think that shotgun microphone's just it's not laid back enough. It's not smooth enough, like these are like podcast or I'm going to record an audio book kind of microphones. Whereas shotguns are like, that's like a voiceover, that's what that guy, tonight on Fox, like he uses the same microphone I use. I forgot that guy's name,
Yeah. Like
tonight on Animation Domination, that guy,
But, I just want to use that MK600 because I like it a lot more for this. And especially when you're going back and forth between being on camera and being and voiceover. Yeah. It smooths that out a lot more.
You ever watch Booth Junkie?
I mean, I haven't really watched it, but I am subscribed to it. But I don't know, if the timing has been wrong, like something new of his is like just not shown up on.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything new in a while,
that
maybe he hasn't been uploading lately.
I don't know if I'm getting him confused with who's the guy that does other like Darko Audio.
Oh no, that's the guy that does like home stereo stuff.
Yeah.
That's a different guy.
Yeah. I'm subscribed to both of them though.
Okay.
And I don't know. Like I'm just like I'm simultaneously trying to streamline how things work, but it's always end up dumping more money into stuff. But I feel pretty good where I'm at. Like I'm doing this setup tour that people have been asking for 3 years or something like that, and it's going to be like an hour long. We're just like going to go through everything, and even then, I'm going to have to leave out like a bunch of way things are routed and stuff like that. Like it's just too much. It's just too much, and I don't have any real interest in getting super into like the nuances and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like I have this, this like loops through this and blah blah blah.
Yeah, that should still be a cool video though, I think.
Yeah, I mean, people have been asking for it for so long.
Yeah,
and I think that I want to give them something that is like has made it worth the wait.
Yes,
but it's also, like one of the like the last thing that I can think of this like I've been promising for a long time.
Yeah, it's like me with the NES launch video. Like once I release that, I can just retire. So
That's
really, people
think,
asking for it, you should, if that shows up, that might be it. Hey, sorry, real quick. You mentioned that you went to Akron recently.
Yes.
Did you happen to?
I did not.
No,
but I'm
that's all
going
right.
back. I go back in 3 weeks, though, for the actual show.
You did
just up
go
there to
one
film
time, though,
something.
didn't you?
Yeah, I went last year. I went last year when I was up there for the show because, so I follow the same route this year, where I go to a work event, the High School Sports Awards is what it is, actually, that I'm going to be working at in Columbus, and then I go to the Akron Canton show, and then I go to the Erie, Pennsylvania show. So I'm just going to work my way up there. And the thing is the Akron show is on a Friday, and the Erie, Pennsylvania show is not until Monday.
Oh.
So I have like a whole weekend. So I can kind of take my time. I mean, originally I was going to have to like drive home and then drive back, but I'm most of the way there.
Yeah.
And like, there's just no reason for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and visit friends and family and stuff like around where I grew up for the weekend and just drive back to Erie. Cause I grew up like 45 minutes from Erie, Pennsylvania, but I will go and get a nice sandwich.
I was just asking. I'm not trying to.
Oh,
You already went. You're under no obligation to go again. I'm just trying to live vicariously through you because I want one of those sandwiches, but I can't get one. So,
yeah, I mean, I want to go.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. And I should have gone before because the filming that I had to do there was not until like 3:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But it was still kind of far away from like where my hotel was at.
Right.
At the time. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. What is it called? Something deli? What is it?
Diamond Deli.
That's it.
Yeah.
The Diamond.
Right.
Maybe get a t-shirt this time.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of setup, how do I tell the story? So, all right. So up in my office, I have my 19-inch RGB monitor.
Yeah.
Right. That's like my big one or whatever, and I have like a SCART switch. So I have like different consoles set up to that. So it's easy. I can go up there and just like turn the monitor on, turn on a Sega Genesis and, off you go. Right. Mm-hmm. But, that room has sort of like this weird little built-in in it where like somebody sort of like renovated our house and they put like, it's like this built-in bench in this little sort of alcove or whatever. And that's where I have the monitor sitting. It's sitting on top of this built-in bench. And then I put shelves in the alcove above that. And that's where like the game systems are. But the bench, it's normal bench height. I don't know what that is, like normal seat height,
Yeah.
But it's like a little bit too low because then I'm sitting in a chair, right, where the seat of my chair is maybe a little bit lower than the bench because it's like a lounge chair. But my head is sort of too high. Like I'm looking down a little bit at the monitor. Like the top of the monitor is probably like comes up to maybe the top of my chest or something, so you're looking down, not optimal viewing angle, right? Like your eyes are supposed to be, I've always read your eyes should be lined up with like 1/3 the way up the screen. So like 2/3 of the screen should be above eye level, 1/3. I mean, whatever. I would say if nothing else, if your eyes are lined up with the middle of the screen, great, just whatever, but your eyes being above the screen, no good. Right.
Yeah.
So, and it's always bothered me, but I didn't really know what to do about it. So anyway, last weekend I get invited to this my coworker's boyfriend's birthday party.
Okay.
And so my wife and I went, and they're very outdoorsy people. My coworker, they could go camping and rock. That's how they met, was rock climbing. So I go out
Actually, were they on the mountain? No,
there's this thing here in town called Rocknasium.
Ooh.
And it's like they have like climbing walls that you can go climb.
Sweet.
But I mean, that's where they met. But they actually do go climb real rocks. Like you go to Rocknasium to practice, so you can go like climb actual rocks. Which I don't know why people do that, but whatever. Hiking for me is.
They haven't watched Cliffhanger.
Oh, I should bring that up actually. If she hasn't, because she's Korean, like she's like an international student.
Yeah,
she might not have seen Cliffhanger. I should tell her about that.
Just watch the part where like he loses her grip and she falls.
Okay, anyway, we're getting off topic here. But so I'm saying that they're outdoorsy. They camp a lot. This party was at a park, like one of the city parks we have. And so when I showed up, they had brought like all of their camping chairs and had them all, set up so that people could sit, right? And they had this one camping chair that was like really low to the ground. Like if you sit, it's a folding camping chair, but if you sit in the chair, your ass is only like 3 inches from the ground, right? And I sat in it because nobody wanted to sit in that one for some reason. I'm like, oh, perfect. I sat in that and I was like, man, this is a pretty comfortable. Are you serious?
Lexi's gonna be on her way, and I clean off the table.
Clean off the table. Okay. Just keep an eye out for her.
Okay.
You know how you have like a swear jar? Like, oh, you accidentally let it slip. You have to put $1 in the jar. You should have that. Like, if you have to come down here and ask me something, $1 in the jar.
I will enact that rule going forward.
Next time.
I'm only saying because, like, she's having a friend come over.
That's fine.
Like
I don't care. I don't actually care.
No, it's just like a different. It's. I feel in this day and age. I don't mean to like change the subject. I just wanted to talk about this for a second.
That's fine.
Like everything is so. Like built around like, oh, the kids like want to have like a play date. They gotta set it up.
Yeah.
And you schedule it. I'm like, listen, when I was a kid, we just like would go to friend's house in the afternoon. It's like, hey, you want to come over, hang out for a while, and then like it didn't have to be like set up.
You might not even call first. You might just go show up.
But I feel like that's like
you can't do that anymore.
Never happens.
You can't do that anymore.
You could do that if you were like neighbors.
Okay.
Maybe.
Sure.
This person, has to get a ride over. But, my wife is in the office every day. So like I'm home and I'm working and they are, both the kids are home and they don't have any camps for the summer yet. And, we're going to like go to the pool tonight. And she's like, I want my friend to go. I'm like, and it turns out like she can't go, but I'm like, but if you just want to like have her come over in the afternoon, just like, if she just wants to get dropped off for a few hours, like, I don't feel like it needs to be like a whole setup.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know if that ever happened. Like if my wife, like growing up, like ever did anything like that. But for us, it was just like, oh, we go over to like people's house, like after school and you hang out until like dinner time.
Absolutely.
Or and like I just feel like that doesn't really happen that often anymore. But I'm trying to encourage it, like saying, hey, you should just like if you just want to have a friend come over for a few hours and you hang out, that's fine. Like just whatever. I'm not gonna just like make sure that and like it's like presentable here.
Yes.
So okay, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's fine.
Tangent, but
I was just say. So I sat in this chair and it was just like so low to the ground, and I was just like, oh, this might be the answer to my problem with my RGB monitor.
Oh, okay.
Because I had tried a number of years ago. I bought like some folding, they call them like floor chairs. And it was just like, it was a piece of crap. Like it broke like right away. But these are like nice, like they're not cheap. These are like nice quality folding camping chairs. And so I ended up buying one, and I moved my lounge chair out of the way and I set it up, I unfolded it in front of the RGB monitor and I sat down and my eyes are like right where they should be. So
that's perfect.
I mean, I wish it was something a little bit more plush or whatever, but honestly, it's pretty comfortable to sit in,
Yeah. It feels like if it's that low to the ground, it'd be so hard to get out of.
Well, it's got like
climb out and then.
No, it's got, because it has like these weird like they're not really armrests, but there's these two pieces that come down each side. And if you put your hand on those, you can just push yourself up. I mean,
okay.
Probably for an old person, at some point that's not going to be doable anymore. But I like being that low to the ground. You can just have your drink on the floor next to you or whatever.
Yeah.
I envision myself this summer sitting in that chair and, playing
and enjoying yourself.
I was playing some Arnold Palmer tournament golf last night.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I talk about like getting out of that, like, oh, that sounds like it'd be like hard on your knees, maybe.
Yeah.
So like I guess in terms of, you know, I mentioned like doing something for like a little bit each day.
Yeah.
I've been doing like a 20 minutes of workout like every day.
Yeah. You're doing squat thrusts.
Well, the thing is, like, so this has been kind of a game changer for me. Is I got like a pair of kettlebells, and you can do like so much cool stuff with kettlebells.
Yeah.
And like different kinds of squats and like lunges and like you know, like these swings and all these other things. It's like, it's kind of amazing. So I'm all into that. And it's like this, not influenced at all by the fact that I saw several Instagram reels about people working out with kettlebells, and I was like, oh, I could do that. So what I've been doing is, you know, I have that projector over there. I just pull it down and I put on an episode of something and I work out for the entire episode, and then that's it. And it's
like,
just
like what? Do you have is there like a go-to show you've been watching right now, or?
I worked my way through the show Severance.
Okay. I don't know.
It's an Apple TV show. It's very, very good.
Okay.
Very good.
I've never heard of it, so I'm just not familiar.
I would like to explain it, but I kind of can't. But you should like look it up because it's got a really, really interesting feel to it.
It's about some guy
those are usually
he got laid off, but his former employer doesn't want to pay him his severance, so he decides to go rogue.
It's not quite. But I've been doing that.
Yeah.
And I've been doing these like squats and stuff with this thing, and I swear, like I get down there and like my knees when I stand back up, they sound like Rice Krispies.
Yeah. Well, be careful.
Like
with
I
that.
gotta work on like, but it's great. You feel like so good afterwards.
Yeah.
And if you spend like 20 minutes, like 20 minutes is doable.
Yeah.
Like it's totally manageable. And I feel as though it's starting to make a big difference.
That's awesome.
And it's just nice. You put down something, or I'll put it like a YouTube video on.
Yeah.
You know, and like most videos are like, 20 minutes. Then, if not, I'll continue it like the next day.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely enjoying that. Enjoying doing that. I did want to mention
our sponsor for this week's episode.
The sponsor of this week's episode is, I don't know, Anbernic probably at this point.
It should be. It should be.
It should be.
I guess they kind of are. They're sending you so much free crud, which I have also benefited from since he sent me one. So
yes, it's tangentially sponsored by Anbernic, like not intentionally. It just happened to be so. I forgot what I was going to say now.
Oh,
I don't know what my whole thing is with this. Oh, I guess like 3 weeks ago, I don't know. I think I'd mentioned when I was going to it, I got to go see the like a Q&A thing with my current favorite podcaster.
Yes.
The host of 60 Songs That Explain the 90s.
Yeah.
Rob Harvilla. And it was kind of a cool thing. It was like at this there's not a ton of people there, and it's just like a kind of a Q&A session with like a host, and then he just released a book, and you could get a book and get it signed and like chat with him for a while. I was like, man, I want to ask him if he'll be on this, because I would love just like, because he mentions video games occasionally in his, and I've come to realize like he's just like throwing stuff out there that it's not just like a casual. He's not just like he's played a lot of stuff, even though he doesn't really talk about it.
Yeah.
It's like he has like a knowledge of stuff like beyond what you would expect from somebody who doesn't play any video games to like know. But I was like, man, I should like ask him to be on here. Yeah. And I chickened out at the last. I did not shoot my shot. Yeah. I should have. But if anybody listened to this, has any kind. But the thing is, like, I might have some sort of like weird, like I might be like less than like two or 3 degrees of separation from him.
Yeah.
Because he went to Ohio University at the same time that my wife did. So the chances that they probably know somebody in common.
Maybe. I mean, you're never going to do it, so I don't know why you're even talking about it. You're too chicken to ask anybody on the show.
I am too chicken. But if anybody listening to this has any kind of connection, like, I think it'd be super cool just to talk to him.
I mean, haven't we had Greg Seward on the show now, like twice?
He's been on twice.
Why are you thinking that we can't pull? What? That guy had his own cubicle in the EGM offices. Like, as far as I'm concerned, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Once you pull that, like, whatever. You call Gary Oldman. I don't care. I'm not scared.
Well, I mean, I think that we talked about like having several people on.
But you're too chicken to ask people, like Tim Rogers, you chickened out on that one. I don't
think he has time. He has probably a busy enough schedule at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think that, if we get back into this, like every other week, we stay pretty consistent. I think we could start roping in some people again.
Yeah.
But we got to get back on our game.
Yeah.
In terms of doing that. But it was a great Q&A. Like, when I got my book signed, I just talked to him about like living in New York, because he lived in New York at the same time. He wrote for the Village Voice.
Oh.
He like wrote for Spin Magazine for a minute.
Maybe he knows Robert Christgau.
Maybe. Who is that?
He used to do music reviews for the Village Voice.
I'm sure that he probably does then. At least is familiar with them. But if you've not listened to that, it's very funny, because I was listening to the episode. I've not listened to all the episodes. There's several ones that, Apple's stupid podcast app. Did you know if you like mark episodes like to download, to like listen to later if you don't have internet, it automatically marks that episode as listened to.
I did not know that. That's very stupid.
It's very stupid. So I realized, like, oh my God, there's like 30 episodes here that I have not listened to.
Score.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great moment when it happens. Like, oh, I have all this new stuff to listen to. And
it's like finding a tub of ice cream in your freezer that you didn't know you had.
Yeah, when you're like stoned out of your mind.
Well, I don't do that sort of thing, but I'll take your word for it.
It's like finding a tub of Grater's strawberry chocolate chip ice cream, I guess. That's a limited time only ice cream that they have.
Oh.
That is my wife's favorite ice cream. And I said, we should just like buy like a pint of it every time we are going past a Kroger or that, and just like stock our freezer.
I mean, if it's sealed, it should be fine, right? I mean, it's when you open ice cream is when it starts getting freezer burn if you ignore it for too long. But even then, it takes a long time. Probably
more than a year, I would assume.
I would think so.
So I'm like, well, we should just buy some of that, because we can, just like have it all year round. Because she's crazy about like the pumpkin pancake stuff that Trader Joe's has, and they only have it as for a couple of months, like in the fall.
Wait, it's like pumpkin pancakes, like frozen pancakes?
No. It's like pancake mix, pumpkin pancake mix.
Oh, so it's like a powdered mix.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But they only have it for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Like in the fall.
Yeah.
But what she does is she gets so much of it that we can just like have it year round.
Sure.
Like she'll go and buy like a reasonable amount.
Yeah.
So that we don't have to worry about it. But, that Grater strawberry chocolate chip, the problem is like when it's like the four of us, I'll have an ice cream out of one of those. Like those, like a pint of that will like basically,
that's like
last
one sitting, right? For four people.
For the four of us, yeah. So,
I mean, I can easily eat a pint of ice cream in one sitting myself. So
yeah. I mean, I could absolutely do it with that, but I look at that, it's like, it's 1,000 calories for the whole thing.
Just skip a meal.
Skip a meal. Yes. But I have no idea where I was going with this. feel like I was just hitting on these things that were in the back of my mind.
Well, because you were saying that you found that you had all these podcast episodes of.
Oh yeah. There was one that I hadn't listened to about it. Return to the Mac.
Return of the Mac.
The Mac. Yes. So that whole one, and I almost sent it to you because
you should have. That's one of the all-time great songs.
But the funny thing is that episode goes back and forth between that song.
Yeah.
This Is How We Do It.
Uh-huh.
And Fantasy.
What?
Like it's like talks about those 3 songs.
Wasn't like that was the 3 songs, right? That I gave Greg that he had to pick
I know.
From.
I almost sent it to you
that
because
guy must listen to our show. There's no way.
No, this came out before we talked about it. I think that episode came out in 2022.
That's still such a tough choice.
Right.
I got to go Return to the Mac, but it's not easy.
Yeah, well, it's just really interesting listening to it because he goes into like the whole the fantasy that it samples like that. It was like the Genius of Love.
Yeah,
is the song
from the Tom Tom Club.
Tom Tom Club, yes. And like I feel like that, and that's also being used in a lot of songs. Like even like recently, it was used in something. And you start to realize like how many times, even if it's not obvious, like how many times that's like sampled.
Yeah.
Like even if it's just like the beat of it is being used.
Yeah.
But I should send that to you because it's just very funny because it's like those 3, and he goes into like the history of those songs and like talks about like compares them and everything. It's just very funny because it was exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah, should. I definitely want to listen to that now. That might be my gateway drug into his show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that you would really, really like it.
So did you buy a book and have him sign it?
Yeah.
Did you ask him to sign it to a really big fan? Hey, can you sign
no,
that
but he
to
did.
A really big fan.
He did. He asked my name, and he got it right because usually when you tell somebody their name, or when I tell somebody my name,
you got to spell it.
I got to spell it because they really don't know. I mean, how would they know?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that one, and it's also very funny is, and also timely. In there was an episode on Radiohead's "Creep," but he starts out talking about the Jerky Boys. Remember the Jerky Boys?
Of course, I had I think 3 of those CDs.
So it's funny because when John Lennon was here, I had mentioned the Jerky Boys because it's like the Jerky Boys is a thing that could only exist like at a specific point in time. Mm-hmm. I think, and especially like it cannot exist now. But it like talks like apparently there's a quote from like Tom York like talking about how he liked the Jerky Boys.
Really?
Yeah. And he's like, can you imagine Tom York like listening to the Jerky Boys like laughing about it?
Yeah.
But it's funny because I just brought up the Jerky Boys to John, and we were like, I was joking about it. I'm like, this could not exist like any other time. And there's like so much stuff that is like not acceptable now.
Sure.
But there's just, I still use this whole thing where he's like, I don't know, he like puts an ad in the paper, or like one of them puts an ad in the paper about he's like selling trains. And somebody called up, he's like, "What's up there, Chief?"
Yeah.
And so I still will like throw that out there every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like it's just like that came up in conversation with John, and then I listened to that episode like 2 days later, and I was like, you got to listen to the first 2 minutes of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talking about the Jerky Boys. It was very like the timing could not have been better, I guess.
Do you ever listen? I don't think they do it anymore, but it's sort of Jerky Boys related, I would say. I mean, this is some of the hardest times I've ever laughed was listening to this, but on the Howard Stern show, I don't know if these guys are still on the show. There used to be these 2 guys that were both on the staff of the show. There was Sal and Richard. Mm-hmm. And they had this bit they would do where they would call in to these, I don't know if this was just like a rural thing, and it probably doesn't exist anymore, but it was called Tradio. So like a portmanteau of trade and radio. And it was a way like, so some guy would host this show and people could call in that were selling stuff. Like, oh yeah, I'm selling this, Sega Genesis or whatever, And Sal and Richard would call up as various characters, very similar to the Jerky Boys, either, selling stuff or wanting to buy something that some other caller was selling. And these guys are like the masters of prank calling as far as never breaking when they're it. Yeah. So I'm just saying you should look that up like after the show, like just,
okay.
Howard Stern Tradio or Sal and Richard Tradio. And because people have put together like whole like mega mixes or whatever, super cuts on YouTube of that.
Yeah. That's funny. Did you ever prank call anybody?
Yeah, we used to do that when I was a kid, but I could never, I would always break.
Oh, really?
So most of the time I would have my friend Adam do it because he would never break. And so we would come up with our idea of what we were going to do, and then he would call, and I would just sit there and laugh, Because I would try to do it, but because we would do ridiculous. We would get the newspaper out, and there would be like ads for like free kittens. And, we would call and be like, yeah, I've got this Burmese python, and I can't get any bunnies. Would it be cool if I took like 3 or 4 of them to feed the python, and they would just be like, oh my God, no, or like, oh, I've got these pit bulls I'm training to fight, and I need some puppies for them to kill for practice.
Children these days will never know the joy of prank calls. Like it is essentially like a completely dead thing. It's not achievable anymore.
Yeah.
Just like, I guess like 900 numbers, right? It's similar, but even less so like prank calling. You can't call anybody, even with a blocked number.
Yeah.
Calling businesses and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hey, so
it's. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What?
I didn't have.
You're just sad about not being able to prank call people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being able to give people a hard time for no reason.
I was just going to say that Ghiblifest 2024 started last week. And my wife and I went and saw, they released 2 movies in the theaters last week. So my wife and I went and saw both of them because we hadn't seen either of them.
Back to back?
Well, so they'll do this thing where I think the first movie came out. It was on, if you went on Sunday, it was the English dubbed version. And then on Tuesday was the original Japanese audio with English subtitles. And then the second movie, Monday, was English dub. Wednesday was Japanese with subtitles, And so we went on Tuesday and Wednesday because we saw both movies with the subtitles.
Right.
But we hadn't seen either movie before. I don't know if you've seen either of these movies. We saw Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind was Tuesday night.
I've seen that one.
And then Castle in the Sky was
I've not seen
night.
Castle in the Sky. But Nausicaa, I watched that. I randomly put that on for my son.
Yeah.
And he really liked it. It's got like the giant
the ohms,
the caterpillar thing.
Yeah, those big whatever they are,
Yeah.
Big trilobites or something. Yeah, that, I think for my wife and I both, that movie really kind of blew us away. And I would say, for me, it's like, with the exception of, we'll get to Castle in the Wind, but like every Miyazaki movie I watch, and some of it's probably just recency bias, but like, and it's important to note, like I until, a year or two ago, I really wasn't familiar with Studio Ghibli stuff at all. I didn't know who, Miyazaki was. And so I'm going into all of these movies like completely blind, and that really only started because of that Tim Rogers Boku no Natsuyasumi video got me to go watch My Neighbor Totoro, which all I knew about it was what he said about it on his show, which really was not much. It didn't really go into what it was about. And so anyway, ever since then, every time I watch one of these Miyazaki movies, I go, oh, that was the best one. And so, of course, I walked out of Nausicaa thinking, like, that was the best one. But, by far. And I'm saying that because all the movies are awesome. But I'm saying even amongst a sea of awesome movies, Nausicaa is just, like, blew me away with how good it was. And so then, I went and maybe that's why I'm talking about maybe sort of this is like recency bias in reverse. But I went the next night and I watched Castle in the Sky, and I was like, it was good. I think I found the ending to be pretty unsatisfying, but I still enjoyed it. But I didn't walk away from that feeling like, oh, that was the best one. In fact, now I just feel like, because there's a lot of them I haven't seen yet, including like some heavy hitters. I just can't see anything. I don't know what I could possibly see that would make me think, oh, that's better than Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind. Because that's how good I think that movie was. Like anybody listening to this, if you've never seen it, if you've never watched any of the Studio Ghibli stuff, if you're not into that kind of stuff, just do me a favor and just watch Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind. It's so good.
Well, I get the feeling that, I think over time, like they become like more and more like strange, I guess. And it's kind of nice because Nausicaa is not like.
Well, but that movie's from '84 though, so this is like
right.
That movie actually technically predates Studio Ghibli.
Okay, but still, like, don't you feel like that is like they get more and more like abstract, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, and that's like I haven't seen them all either, but the first one I saw was Princess Mononoke when that was like in the theaters.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying though, because like I think that Nausicaa is a pretty straightforward movie. It's a really good movie, but I don't think you have to walk out of that kind of thinking like, well, what was that about?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how I felt with like Boy and the Heron. Like I just like, I was annoyed that I didn't understand it. I didn't like it because it was just like, I don't.
Well, I haven't seen it. I didn't get to see it when it was in the theater, so I haven't seen that one yet. But
okay.
But that's how I felt with like My Neighbor Totoro. Like I really enjoyed it, but I had to think about it a lot and read about it afterwards. Because like, what is that really? What were those things? Like what? I didn't. And a lot of that is because it's like symbolism that is unique to Japanese culture. And I don't feel like there's nothing really about Nausicaa that's like, oh, that's so Japanese. It's really not. It's just a really good. And that's why I think
it's so cool about it.
Yeah.
It's what it feels like a good. Like a good video game from that era.
Yeah.
I guess. And I think that's why I tend to find myself liking like 80s and early 90s like anime.
Yeah.
And then like after a certain point I'm just kind of like, it's just like, there's just too much stuff.
Yeah.
Too much of it. To really follow what's going on, or it's just, has to be like off the wall to keep people's attention.
Yeah,
I guess. And that's what I liked about Nausicaa. It just feels it appeals to people who played video games during that time.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. But I also feel like, I mean, that movie, like, like the ending made my wife cry a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
But but it's not like in the same way, I just feel more like you watch like Pixar movies, and I'm not trying to dog on Pixar movies are great, but I'm saying like they're sort of designed to elicit that they're all, in my opinion, kind of designed to elicit the same emotional response out of you,
Yeah.
And it seems kind of formulaic, and but you can't help it. You watch the movie and it's like, oh, it tugs at your heartstrings
a little
bit.
It worked for a long time, and I think that's one of the reasons like they're not.
But I'm saying I don't feel like Nausicaa. It wasn't like designed to do that. It just like because of the way the ending is, it's just very sort of emotional.
It feels earned.
Yes,
not like
that's what I'm trying to say.
To.
They weren't trying to play to the audience. It was just like this is just how the story
works because
ends,
everything that came before, like building up to it, felt like real and genuine.
Yes,
I guess
right.
It wasn't just like, oh, we're going to do this because we want people to cry at the end.
Right.
It just happened because like that's the way the story played out.
It's like the end of Jedi. Like how can you not get a little teary-eyed at the end of Jedi when he's, Luke, take my mask off,
Yeah. Well, it's
that wasn't they weren't trying to do that. It was just like this is the culmination of the story, Yeah.
Yeah, and it was earned. It got to that point, and and I think that's absolutely true. I think that is absolutely true, and I think so. That's cool. So, what more are showing? Like, because
I don't remember. There's like at least there's at least one new one, not new one, but I mean, like, there's at least one movie being re-released in the theater. I think like every month for the whole summer, and then there's still going to be some in the fall. So like anything that we haven't seen yet that's coming out in the theater this year, we're going to wait and then see it in the theater. So I know like Howl's Moving Castle we haven't seen yet, but we're going to wait and we'll go see it in the theater. But like I still haven't seen Spirited Away, but that's not coming out in the theater until next year, so I'm not going to wait. Like my wife and I'll just watch that now.
So it's pretty cool that your wife is into it too. Like you guys are kind of all into it. Yeah. Was she on board like right away, or did you have to kind of be like, well, let's try to watch this?
No, I mean, my wife really likes watching movies, and I would say like most of the time if we watch a Pixar movie, it's like she's sort of the driving force behind that. Like she likes animated movies. And I just kind of had to explain to her what Studio Ghibli was, because again, I didn't know either. So I learned about it, and I kind of just told her, I'm like, this is basically like, I mean, I don't think this is a fair comparison, but the easiest way to tell somebody is it's like, oh, it's like the Japanese Disney. Yeah. Even though I think it's better, but I'm trying to make the point to people and this is based on my own, prejudices, I guess, is like, I always mentally just lumped anime together, and it's all just like Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, Fist of the North Star, stuff that I'm just not into, Yeah. And so, I normally wouldn't have been interested in watching this Studio Ghibli stuff because I would have just assumed ignorantly that it's just that same kind of stuff and that I'm not going to be into it. And so, once I watched Totoro, I was like, oh, this is not, like, I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't this. Like, this is cool, Yeah. And so that's what I showed her. I'm like, hey, you should check out this movie, and so then we watched Totoro together. And then I asked, oh, you want to watch, are you down to watch other ones? And because she's down to watch movies generally. She's like, oh yeah, let's check out, more, so. Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. I should try to convince my wife to watch more like random stuff like that. It's tough to get her to watch like random, like different like stuff than she normally would watch, I guess. My thing, I'm just speaking for myself when I say this, but like when it comes to watching movies, there's nothing better than seeing a great movie that absolutely nothing about. Like I can't tell you the plot. I don't know nothing. And that's the way all these movies are for me. I don't know anything about, even if you talk about like Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, I have no idea at all what those movies are about. But I know that they're going to be good. And so then when I go watch them, like there's been certain movies that I watched them and that was the case, like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, or The Sixth Sense. I could probably think of some more where it's just like, I don't know anything about this movie. And then I sit down and watch it, and In Bruges. And I enjoyed it that much more because I never even saw a trailer. Trailers ruin movies, I think, a lot of the time. Yes. I understand why they're necessary, but I'm saying, like, if it's a really good movie, I don't want to see the trailer first. Yeah. Well, that's how very much I am with games, at least these days, where once something is announced, it's like, oh, I will see that first trailer and be like, oh, that looks like something I'd be interested in, and then I just like completely like don't pay attention to anything until like I play it. Yeah. And it's nice that way to be surprised, and similar with movies, I guess. I like to go see random things that I had not planned on going to see, I guess. I had that experience going to see like when I first moved to New York, I saw Garden State. It was just like in the theater, and I didn't know anything about it. I just heard a friend say, like, oh, it's pretty good. Yeah. And I had a free day, and I was like, by a movie theater, I'm like, I'm just going to go see it right now. I didn't know anything about it, and I really, really liked it. Yeah. But that's cool, and I think people could probably like learn a lot from that, just to like, enjoy that surprise or like not knowing about it, like going in.
Just as
because I think a lot of people are just very interested in just knowing everything that there is to know about things.
Yeah.
About everything.
Yeah.
No, it seems like.
Yeah.
There's like no like people are like, I don't want any surprises. I need to know. I want to know like how the movie ends before I even see it the first time.
Yeah. But it's hard because we have all that information readily available, now.
Yeah.
So it's hard to put yourself on like information lockdown. Since I mentioned it a minute ago, have you seen In Bruges?
No. Isn't that Colin Farrell?
Colin Farrell, yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot recommend that movie highly enough. I watched that. Right. Somebody said it was good. There's kind of a famous, line from the movie that somebody mentioned on Reddit, and somebody else said like, "Oh, that's such a great movie." And so I watched it, not knowing anything about it. And
is it Guy Ritchie directed it? No, or he did Snatch, and then did he do that before that?
He did not. I forgot the guy's name, but it was not Guy Ritchie. No.
Okay.
But that's not kid friendly. In case you.
Oh yeah.
In case you weren't sure. So.
Yeah, and I mean I know the name, like, and it's like, like the. If you didn't know how it was pronounced, you'd say, "Oh, that's In Bruges."
Yeah. Bruges. But yeah, I mean, the same thing. I knew nothing about it. I watched it and I was like, man, what a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what about, just because I had this written down on my list, because I was thinking about movies. I watched this one again the other day, but I've seen this one several times. You ever seen Get Shorty?
One time. I've seen it one time, but I've also seen the sequel.
Oh, I haven't seen the sequel. People say it sucks. But
I didn't think it was that bad.
But I really like the original a lot.
Yeah.
Just as a fun, I'm not like I think, oh, this is a great film, but I just think it's a really fun movie. And, how often do you see Gene Hackman in sort of a comedic role, But I mean, that movie's got a really, really good cast. James Gandolfini before The Sopranos has a, pretty big role.
Yeah.
That was, I don't know if that's the first movie, but that's, one of the first movies that John Travolta did, like after he kind of got his career rejuvenated by Pulp Fiction. Renee Russo, she was a pretty big deal in 90s movies.
I mean, there's similar people, and like, I feel like I've saw the sequel one time more recently than I've saw the original.
Yeah.
But I'll put that on my list. I'll tell you, I've been decided to get thanks to the coaxing from Try, I got a Ultra HD Blu-ray player.
Oh, okay.
Like a 4K Blu-ray, and I've been. I decided I want to get some of like my favorite movies in 4K.
Sure.
As long as I know the transfer is pretty good, because you get a 4K Blu-ray, it's like essentially the same resolution as like they showed in movie theaters.
Yeah. As film.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what, Dustin said. He's a big movie fan. And he's like, I like 4Ks because it's almost like having your own film print.
Yeah.
Of your favorite things. And it depends on if they've been cleaned up, or some of the James Cameron stuff has been denoised through AI and it's just ruins the movies. You should see the stuff.
If you can tell it was AI upscale, that's bad. You shouldn't be able to tell. Yeah.
And everybody looks like cartoons almost.
Yes.
It's kind of weird. But then there's certain ones you get, most recently, the movie that pushed me over the edge to get it, to get one was The Crow. The Crow is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And the transfer that just came out, the 4K that came out of it, for the 30th anniversary, has all the film grain in there, and it just looks really, really, really good.
Yeah.
And that's something that I guess you tend to forget, how much better it can look than streaming, until you see a nice Blu-ray or Ultra HD 4K Blu-ray. And it's this actually does look a lot better than streaming, because you don't pick that up.
If you don't mind my asking there, I have no idea, how much would it run me if I wanted to go buy a 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray player?
So there, it is kind of complicated. It depends on what features you want. But I got this Panasonic one that has the Dolby Vision, which is
I don't know what that
it's like HDR. It's like HDR, but like the filmmakers can decide like how they want it to look, and it will just like make your TV switch to that.
Oh, okay. Well, I probably would want that because my TV does HDR.
So it was $400. You can get it on eBay as $400.
Yeah.
If you go on Amazon, it's like $450, but you can get it like $400 shipped.
Yeah.
For a nice Panasonic one, and you had talked about CD players like having good DACs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This one has a separate HDMI audio out.
Yeah.
That you could run into a receiver and probably play a CD, and it would be like incredible sounding.
Yeah.
I mean, I can link you to the one that I got, and it's good to get this stuff, I guess, because some of these, like with Best Buy, is no longer selling Ultra HD Blu-rays.
Yeah.
Like they just like removed them all from their store, and it's just, I don't know. It's becoming increasingly clear that movie studios want to prevent people from like having access to the movies unless they deem that it's necessary.
Yeah.
Or like so let's say want to put it out there. So the True Lies, it has like the horrible upscale or AI denoising and all this other stuff. It hasn't been released like on video since DVD.
Wow.
It never got a Blu-ray release or anything.
I saw that in the movie theater.
I did too. I saw it twice.
Oh, it's a good one.
Same thing with The Abyss. Like that hadn't been released since DVD, and that was also like AI upscaled. And same thing with Aliens. I guess Aliens doesn't look very good, but I guess Alien looks like really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So that's something I would want to buy. Like there's just certain like movies that you really, really like.
Yeah. But it sounds like you'd have to sort of like think about movies you really like and then kind of go look into it and see what people think about that release of it.
And that is absolutely true. And it's kind of a good thing though when you think about like I want to be very intentional and just get the stuff that I like.
Yeah.
But Amazon will put this stuff up for sale. Like recently they had like you can get 3 movies for $33.
3 Ultra 4K or 4K Ultra HD movies for like $11 each.
Yes.
Wow.
So I like looked at their list and I was like, okay, so here's ones that are supposed to be pretty good. Like one of them was Jaws. Jaws has like an amazing transfer, like just looks really good. I got the Goonies, which I guess I'm not sure if when it was like they were that cheap as like, I just like this movie.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies. So
something you can share with your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got that and the new Dune movie, which was very good.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the second one yet. Was also on that list, and I got that one. And then I did another 3. I got like Big Lebowski. I don't know how good that one is. But when they were that cheap, it's like, all right, I'll just get these. If they're not like amazing, it's okay. But like Jaws is like the big one. Like it looks incredible.
So again, it's my own ignorance, I guess, but and I don't have any plans to buy either of these items. But if you have like a PS4 Pro or a PS5,
they will play it. Yeah.
Oh, they will.
And so like the Xbox Series X and S, I think. Or
so what's the
Xbox One X and Series X? They have the disc drives. We'll play them as well.
So what's the what's the advantage? I'm asking of buying
because
a standalone?
I just wanted to like not put wear and tear.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I didn't know if there was like additional features or something that you would get if you bought a standalone.
Well, they don't support like the Dolby Vision.
Oh, okay. Well, that's something then. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to save on the wear and tear. Like for
the
Xbox Series X, like with the way things are going with Xbox, and they have like the all digital version of the Series X coming out, like that. Like the Series X could be like the last one that ever has a disc drive on it.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And I don't want to, put it like as more wear and tear on it.
Yeah.
Although it would probably last my entire life anyways. Like doesn't even matter. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's all just like being afraid. like things
Well, I
not
mean,
having
I
access,
guess, but I mean,
stuff that I will never
drive
have
failure
enough
is
time
pretty
to
common
consume.
in 3DO consoles if you have the front loader.
But that's I decided to do it because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a PS4 Pro or a PS5 or any of the Xbox models you just mentioned, so I would have to buy something no matter what. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of fun to look into this stuff and say like, okay, so this is like a really good print and like a transfer of this film, and you can say, okay, now I have this like forever because even if they come out with like 8K versions of it, like someday, like it's actually going to be, it's not, how much better can it be? Because the source material is only is 4K.
Yeah.
It's going to probably make it worse in some ways.
Could be.
So, I mean, that's just kind of where I'm at on it. And I enjoy it. I enjoy having the player, and I feel like I'm more apt to watch them than I would be like on a console, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't use I've never really been into using my game consoles to watch, for streaming services or whatever. I don't have a good reason why. It's just that's for playing video games, and if I want to stream, I have a Roku or an Apple TV or something, which seems kind of redundant. That's how I like to do things. So,
well, the Apple TV has like the better 4K stuff, I guess, out of it. Like if you stream 4K like through an Apple TV, like I guess it's better.
I don't think I've actually streamed anything in 4K that I know of. I've never knowingly streamed anything in 4K. How about that? All right. Well, anyways, what do you think? That's an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah. I think that'll do it for this week.
My list is exhausted.
Yeah.
Oh, Car 54, where are you? That's another 54. This is episode 54,
Yeah, it's episode 50. Is it?
I'm saying episode 54. Perfect game of golf. Car 54, where are you? Studio 54, although I never saw the movies. I don't know much about Studio 54, except that it seems like there was a lot of
wasn't it?
Cocaine and sexual intercourse happening in there, I think. But
yeah. Maybe a little bit.
Yeah. But next time will be episode 55, so that should be exciting.
That's going to be the Sammy Hagar episode.
Right.
We can't. I'll save it.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see everybody on the next one.
You're supposed to say, sorry, we got called out on this last time. You're supposed to say, have a good week, everybody.
Have a good week. Have a good couple of weeks, everybody.
That's true.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah.